Some people tend to say the more money you spend on a car, the better it will be. Well, that's not always the case. In today's video, we're going to be going over some cheap cars that are faster than some more expensive super and sports cars in GTA 5 Online. With that said, I hope you enjoy, and let's get into it. First up is going to be the Pariah. It cost $1.42 million and has a top speed of 136 miles per hour. Everybody knows it's one of the fastest, if not the fastest, sports cars in GTA 5 Online. And it is also cheaper than 43 super/sports cars in the game, and the acceleration compared to every other supercar and sports car in the entire game is 86 out of 128. There's a total of 128 super and sports cars in the game, and the acceleration rating for the Pariah is 86. So it does not have the best acceleration, but it is definitely really cheap and has an amazing top speed. The only issue that I see with this car is the fact that it tends to lose traction easily, like pretty easily. If you're trying to do a drag race at the airport, this thing will just burn out at the line. But once it starts to get going, it'll pick up speed really quick, and once it hits its top speed, it'll fly by its opponents. It's definitely a great car, really cheap, and like I said, has an amazing top speed. Next up is the Apocalypse, Nightmare, or Future Shock ZR380. I would suggest getting the Apocalypse version, but that's just my opinion, and it costs $2.138 million. Some people say that's not cheap. Well, sorry, it kinda is. Its top speed is 140.5 miles per hour, and it is cheaper than 21 super/sports cars in the game. Its acceleration compared to 128 cars in GTA 5 is 45. It has the 45th best acceleration out of all of the supercars and sports cars in the game. Now, the issues that I see with the Apocalypse ZR380 is number one, the armor. I'm not a huge fan of it. I really wish we just had a regular 370Z in the game, but then again, this is an arena war vehicle, which means it's a lot faster. Arena war vehicles are just super fast no matter what, which is awesome. The other issue I see with this car is the fact that it drifts a lot. Personally, I love to drift around in GTA 5, and this car is great at it. But if you're trying to just do a drag race, it will still do pretty decent. The acceleration isn't top tier, but it's still better than more than half of the other super and sports cars in the game. But if you're trying to turn, sometimes you'll notice that the back end will kind of just hang out there a little bit more, but I still think it's an amazing car, and for $2.1 million, you're getting something that is great. I know this video is called Cheaper Cars That Are Better Than More Expensive Cars, but I feel like I had to put this car on this list. The Italy RSX. It costs $3.456 million. It has a top speed of 135 miles per hour, and it's cheaper than only 3 super or sports cars in the game. It's an amazing car, but I would highly suggest waiting till it goes on sale to purchase it, because $3.4 million is a lot to spend on a car, but I have to say, it's definitely worth it. The acceleration is number one in the game out of all of the super and sports cars. Every single one, even the Tesseract. This car has a better acceleration than every single super and sports car, which is why I put it on this list. It's outstanding. Do you guys remember, if you were in the live stream I was doing, we were doing some car meets and drag races at the airport. This thing slapped in terms of acceleration. It flew by every single car it went up against. It's amazing. Now, what are the issues with this car? Nothing. It's an amazing car. It's stylish, it's got tons of upgrades, great acceleration, great top speed, and it looks beautiful. I love the car, it's amazing. The price is a little bit up there, which is why I'm saying wait till it goes on sale, because it is only cheaper than 3 other super/sports cars in the game. So I would highly suggest waiting a little bit before you buy it, but trust me, if you do buy it, you will not regret it. If you want skins in V-Bucks in Fortnite, want to become max level in Call of Duty, need money in GTA 5, or anything else for a ton of other games, check out Digazani down below in the description and get 10% off your order by using code FROLICS at checkout. The next car on this list is going to be the 811. It cost $1.135 million. Its top speed is 132 miles per hour, and it's cheaper than 54 super/sports cars in the game, which is pretty great. Pretty cheap car as well, $1.1 million. It's hard to find a sports car or even a supercar at that price that has really good stats. Now, in terms of the acceleration, it's not the greatest, but it's also not the worst. Out of 128 supercars and sports cars in the game, this car has the 39th best acceleration out of all of them, so that's still pretty good. It's definitely in a higher bracket than some other vehicles. Now, the issue I see with this car is it's prone to understeering. You will notice that a lot when you're driving with it. And another issue that I personally see is there's not too many customizations. If you were to fully max this thing out, there's like maybe one cosmetic upgrade you can actually see on the body of the car. You cannot change anything on it except for the paint, the rims, and I think a minor spoiler, but like that's really it. And I like to customize my cars a little bit more than that, and honestly that's a little bit of an issue that I see. But honestly, that really doesn't matter all that much if you're looking for a car to race with. And the 811 is great. It's cheap, got a great top speed, the acceleration is pretty decent, and it really doesn't have too many issues, just that thing about being prone to understeering. It's really a great car, and for $1.1 million, it's not too big of a loss if you guys don't like it, so honestly, it might be a great buy for you. Next up, we have the Devastate 8 coming in at $1.795 million. It has a top speed of 131 miles per hour. It is cheaper than 29 super sports cars in the game. That's pretty decent. It's not super cheap, but hey, it's still under $2 million, which is pretty great. The acceleration is 5 out of 128. It has the 5th best acceleration out of all the super and sports cars in the game. That's pretty good. I'm not gonna lie. There's 128 cars that are supercars and sports cars in GTA 5, and it has the 5th best. That's pretty great. Now, the issues. There's nothing really bad about the car. It's honestly a pretty great car. The only thing I see is it's just really, really long. So some of you guys may have an issue with that, but honestly, it's not really that big of a deal. Honestly, I think the car is just great. Has a great top speed, not too expensive, and an amazing acceleration. What more do you really need from the car? Next up, we have the Banshee 900R. Now, this car is really cheap. It costs $665,000 total. You'll need to spend $100K to buy the Banshee, and then about $565,000 to upgrade it to the 900R. And once you do that, the top speed will then be 131 miles per hour, and it's cheaper than 77 super/sports cars in the game. Think about that for a second. The car has a 131 mile per hour top speed, and it's cheaper than 77 other supercars and sports cars in the game. That's insane. The acceleration is not the best. It's rated 49 out of 128 super/sports cars in the game. It's not the best, but it is still in that top 50% of the cars. So that's still really good. Now, the issue with this car is it drifts a lot. It tends to a fair bit, but honestly, I like that. It's really fun. This is the car that I drive a lot when I want to just drift around on the streets. It's a really fun car, and it looks really nice when you upgrade it to the 900R variant. It looks like a brand new Dodge Viper. I personally love it. The only issue I see is the headlights kind of get on my nerves. But anyways, we're talking about the car, the power in the car, and like how it performs, not the cosmetic shit. But yeah, it's a great car. 131 mile per hour top speed for $665,000. You could buy this car multiple times and still have some money to upgrade it, and it's still cheaper than some of the other cars in this game, which is crazy, and it's honestly an amazing vehicle. So if you guys really wanted something that's cheap and you really don't have a lot of money, maybe the Banshee 900R is the car for you. Before we get into the final car of this video, if you guys do want to see a video on the pros and cons of every supercar in the game, be sure to drop a like. If we can hit 700 likes on this video, I will have that video uploaded as soon as possible. But anyways, the final car on this list is going to be the Kokay D10. It costs a grand total of $1,795,000, and it has a top speed of 130 miles per hour. It's cheaper than 29 super/sports cars in the game, and its acceleration rating is really not the best out of all the other cars on this list. It falls at 87th out of 128 for acceleration out of all of the other super and sports cars in the game. That's not in the top 50%, which is a bit of an issue, but this car is very, very fast, which is awesome, and it's also not too expensive. It is cheaper than a fair bit of the other super and sports cars in the game. Now, the issue with this car is it tends to drift a lot and does lose traction very easily. That's one of the things I noticed when the car first came out in the game. And whenever I see somebody racing with one of these things, if I just tap the side of their car, they spin out, hit the barrier, and sometimes they fly right off the track. So this car does have a couple of issues, but if you are an experienced racer, you can use these things to your advantage. If you guys know how to come out of a drift perfectly, then you guys will have no issues whatsoever. So if you're looking for a car to challenge you a little bit, the Kokay D10 is the one for you, because everybody knows this. It's not all about the car. It's about who's driving the car. So you could be driving the slowest car in the entire game, but still beat out some people driving the fastest cars. It's not all about the car. So with that said, the Kokay D10 is definitely going to be a challenge, but if you're up for it, go ahead and buy it and let me know how it goes, because you will face a few issues with the car. But honestly, all the cars on this list are pretty great. My favorite one is the Italia RSX. Of course, it's not that cheap, but it's still an amazing car. But there's a lot of other ones that I mentioned that were really, really great. Obviously, the ZR380 is amazing. The Pariah is pretty good. The 811 is honestly a great car. It's super cheap, and it doesn't really have too many issues, just the understeering. The Devastate is a fan favorite. Everybody loves that car, and honestly, I think it's pretty amazing as well. I don't really see any issues at all with the vehicle. But there's a lot of great cars that you guys can pick from, and hopefully some of this information did help you guys out if you were deciding to purchase one of the cars in the future. But anyways, thank you guys for watching the video. I hope you enjoyed, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.